Before we start the video, I want you to subscribe to the best Telegram channel at the first link in the description, where we show our earnings on cryptocurrencies, and not only. Our capital that we manage is more than $3 million. Thanks for subscribing. Also in the description is a links to verified exchangers, when you register on which you get a welcome bonus from me. Let's get to the video. Gradually, the year 2022 is drawing to a close. Investors want to exhale as soon as possible and finally close out the year. But it's still too early to do that. After all, in a week we will learn the next FED's interest rate decision. The last meeting of the FED was on November 2. Then it was decided to raise the rate by classic 0.75 again. And what's the most surprising? The market reaction was neutral. I would even say positive. After all, there were high hopes that it would be the last increase to that level. And at the end of November, Powell himself said that on December 14 they would start to cut rates. However, after some negative reports, there are still fears that the rates will be raised by more than 0.5, as many experts predicted, which is why the stock market started this week with an active fall, pulling the cryptocurrency with it. Actually, this week and next week will be very important, because everyone is interested in closing this year as positively as possible, so that fighting inflation in 2023 will be much easier. But should we be worried that rates will rise again? You'll find out in this video. We'll also break it down today. What will rates be in December? Will the FED tighten its policy? What will be the impact on the crypto market? And how to make money on it? Hello everyone, and you are on the Cryptanic channel. I would like to warn you right away that next week will be very important for crypto market, because before the new interest rate is announced, on the 13th, the Consumer Price Index will be published, which will directly influence the FED's decision. And to let you know in advance where the market will move on Wednesday, subscribe to our Telegram channel, because there, you will be among the first to know the CPI results and many other important reports on which you can make money. And of course, please like the video before you watch it, because only your support influences the release of new interesting videos. Thank you in advance to everyone, and we begin. So, today's video, roughly speaking, will be divided into two halves. In the first, we're going to break down all the latest news from FED, specifically what they're going to do at their last meeting of the year. And in the second half, we will look at the most important technical and fundamental indicators of crypto, particularly Bitcoin, on which the movement of the whole market will depend. And let's start, perhaps, with something good. A week ago, at a conference in Washington, FED Chairman Jerome Powell confirmed that a smaller interest rate hike is likely ahead, even though he thinks progress on inflation is largely inadequate. Echoing a recent statement from other CB officials and comments at the November meeting, Powell said he sees the central bank in a position to reduce the size of the rate hike as early as next month, which is DEC 14. But he warned that monetary policy is likely to remain tight for some time until there are real signs of progress in eliminating inflation, and said, the time for easing the pace of rate hikes could come as soon as after the December meeting. Only, despite some promise, we still have a long way to go to restore price stability. Powell noted that policy moves such as interest rate hikes and FED bond cuts tend to take time to get through this complicated system, and added, thus, it makes sense to moderate the pace of our supply increases as we approach a level of restraint that will be sufficient to bring inflation down. These words were like honey to the ears of investors. For, after the conference, Wall Street began to wake up. After 3 days of decline, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 2%, and the Nasdaq, in general, was up more than 4%. And crypto, which likes to copy the movement of the stock market, rose slightly. Bitcoin managed to break out by 7% up, and finally break through the resistance of $17,000, and even managed to haggle near this level during the week. According to the SEAM Group, markets were already estimating a roughly 65% chance that the FED would cut interest rates to 0.5 percentage point in December. But, after Powell's speech, the probability of a 0.5% increase jumped to as much as 75%. But you know what the problem is. You can give various comforting speeches for hours, but record high inflation won't come down. The first chairman have a few things they look at before they give the go-ahead to lower or raise rates. First and foremost is the Consumer Price Index, which directly reflects the rate of inflation, and also, importantly, the unemployment rate, which shows how many new jobs the labor market is adding. In this situation, inflation retention is just beginning to emerge. For example, for October, the CPI showed the lowest increase at 7% compared to June, when the CPI was 9%. Although that is far enough away from the 2% that the FERS desires. The worst is clearly behind us, but nevertheless, it is still too early to celebrate. After all, on Friday, the jobs count showed that the USA economy added 263,000 new jobs in November, strengthening the labor market. Sure, that's great for employers and workers, but not for the FERS, because they're worried that a hot labor market could lead to higher wages, which could worsen inflation. After all, Powell stressed at the conference that as long as inflation remains too high, raising Americans' wages will not lead to a higher standard of living. That makes sense, because higher wages will go to more expensive bread. Against this backdrop, the stock market has been falling hard since Monday because of fears that there will be no decline from the FERS. The Dow Jones Index was down more than 5%, and the S&P 500 lost more than 3%. On Monday, crypto also couldn't resist the pressure of the stock market and embarked on a small correction. Bitcoin fell below 17,000 again and traded in that range for a long time. A significant drop was marked by the Crypto.com exchange token. In fact, after a 15% decline, it quickly turned down by more than 14%. And participants of subscription managed to earn on this movement. They received detailed analytics on opening short deals beforehand and started to fix their profit just in a day. After all, subscription allows you to receive daily professional qualitative market analysis from Cryptanic analysts. And before decision FERS, when market shows good volatility, all old and new participants of the subscription already begin to prepare profitable deals on which everyone can earn. So, if you don't want to spend extra time on market analysis and just want to earn, don't miss this opportunity. You can read more details about subscription at the link in the description. Go ahead and start earning with Cryptanic. As you understand, if it weren't for the increase in jobs, the guys at FERS would have raised the rate by 0.5% without a second thought and quietly went on a New Year's vacation right up until February, because there will be no meeting in January. But Friday's report spoiled the whole picture. And now, Paul will have to think once again, so that the lowering of the rate will not lead to unfortunate consequences. Nevertheless, all predictions are that the FERS will start to soften its policy. And on the 14th, we will see a 0.5 increase, not the 0.75 increase we have seen the last 4 times. The real question for the markets is what the FERS will do in its next decision in February 2023. But the December numbers will help determine the trend of inflation in the USA. If there is another encouraging inflation report, the FERS may not move to 5% next year. But if the November numbers for the October inflation rate were a temporary decline, the FERS may move more aggressively early next year. In part, the FERS has been able to raise rates aggressively because the labor market is still strong. It remains to be seen whether the prospect of a recession in the USA in 2023 will come to pass if the FERS softens its approach to interest rates. This is a very important issue at the moment, as the latest economic data shows that a recession is inevitable. I think the FERS has made its position quite clear, and the December rate decision should not be any surprise. Now for the more interesting question: how will the FERS affect crypto in the near and long term? FERS aside, Bitcoin has been quite positive lately. There are many factors pointing to this. For example, growth in demand. Data shows that the number of Bitcoin wallets with 10 to 100 Bitcoins has grown from 2,900,000 to more than 3,200,000 between 2018 and 2022. This suggests that demand for Bitcoin is growing among small investors. It's also worth noting that the growth of wallets from 10 to 100 Bitcoins is much higher than the growth of wallets from 1 to 10 Bitcoins. This indicates that those who own Bitcoin are increasingly investing in the cryptocurrency. Additionally, the data show that the number of active investors has increased significantly since mid-October. This indicates that investors have found a bottom at around $15,000. Also, the active volume of unspent transactions from 1 week to 1 month increased sharply for the first time since the beginning of this bear market. A similar situation occurred in the 2015 and 2018 cycles. And when that happened, the market turned bullish. That is, the chance that this could happen again is quite high. In addition, the popular MRV indicator, which shows the ratio of the market to the real value of the asset, showed that Bitcoin is clearly undervalued now. Although such indicators have been observed for a month, but the indicator of profitability of miners is in the green zone, at the level of 0.469. When the value is from 4 to 8, it means the market peaks or the red zone. Since the current value was from 0.3 to 0.5, this implies proximity to the bottom. In addition, this condition can also indicate an upward price reversal. The picture on the charts is as follows. Bitcoin has been trading in a horizontal range for the past 3 days, approaching $17,000. The $17,000 level has proven to be a tough nut to crack, as it represents a key resistance zone marked by several peaks and attempts at price action over the past few days. Although Bitcoin has retreated slightly from the 17,000 level, the overall trend on the daily chart remains bearish as prices continue to trade below the key 50-day moving average. As the price movement looks relatively stable at the moment, traders are waiting to see if Bitcoin can overcome the $17,000 resistance and move higher towards $18,000. However, if it fails to do so, there is a risk of a pullback to support at $16,000. There is also a major bullish trend line with support of $16,750 on the 4-hour chart. On the other hand, immediate resistance is approaching $17,450, and the first major resistance is at $17,500. An explicit move above the 17,500 level could take the price to the $17,800 level, and the next major resistance is near the $18,000 area. If the bulls push the price above the 18,000 level, the price of Bitcoin could go even higher. The FTX collapse pulled absolutely all the liquidity and money out of the market. Therefore, it's hard to talk about breaking a new bottom of $14,000, $12,000 or $10,000. And such a thing is unlikely to happen. But as more data is made available before the first meeting, we could see another big drop in price. Of course, next week, on Tuesday, there will be inflation figures in the United States, and any rise in those numbers could cause Bitcoin to move sharply toward the $16,000 level. You should understand that next week will be one of the most important weeks before the end of this year, and you should keep an eye on the news from FIRS at all times. Of course, we will do it for you, and we will provide the most important news in our Telegram channel. So, subscribe. Also, don't forget to write in the comments your opinion on where the crypto market will move after the FIRS rate decision. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video. See you all soon.